Hi, it's Rebecca here from Precious Pages Papercraft, and today I'm designing a layout for Hip Kit Club using the gorgeous October 2022 kits. And I'm also going to be using one of the exclusive subscriber cut files. It's called Thankful Vibes and you get 3 parts to it. So you get the words thankful and vibes and also this lovely pumpkin. And I'm a bit of a sucker for pumpkins, so this one really spoke to me when I was trying to choose which cut file to use. And I've cut my pumpkin from one of the patterned papers. It's kind of like a tealy coloured paper. And I've also cut the internal parts again using one of the other exclusive papers. It's a lovely orange, deep orange colour. So those are the 2 colours I'm going to focus on this layout. And the word vibes I've cut from white cardstock, and I'm using some of my Catherine Pooler design ink pads to colour this with a blending brush, and they're from previous colour kits. I think the orange one is called Tiki Torch, and I have a feeling this greeny coloured one is called Seafoam, and it wasn't quite blue enough for, I was trying to match the patterned paper that I've cut my outside of my pumpkin from. It wasn't quite blue enough, so I'm going to go over with these 2 colours first, kind of blending them in the middle, and then I'm going to come in with an older ink pad, I think from the August 2020 colour kit, and this is a much richer blue colour, and I think it's called Something Borrowed. So I'm going over with that, and it's given me a much closer match to that patterned paper. And I've coloured both the internal and external parts of this cut file. I'm actually going to keep them together. Normally I would stick one part down flat and raise another up on foam, but for this I wanted it together, and I could have taken the internal parts out, but I wanted to have the lines of the letters to make it easier to read. So I've literally just lifted it off my mat, just a few little internal parts that my machine hasn't cut quite perfectly. I'm well overdue a new blade. They're just really hard to get in the UK at the moment for my machine. But that's the only reason I've struggled with those. But yeah, so I'm going to keep those parts together, and I'm going to stick them to my layout with my pumpkin to the left and then my photo kind of sitting behind it. And I wanted to add a little bit of colour behind where that pumpkin is going to sit, so it gives it kind of like a glow underneath. And I'm using that Tiki Torch orange Catherine Pooler ink pad again, just a blending brush in a circular motion all the way around the outside. And had I thought about this in advance, I would have coloured the inside bit as well, because when I stick these internal parts of the cut file back in, I'm actually going to stitch down the centre of each part with my machine, and then raise the edges up and kind of bend them up and distress them a little bit to give that pumpkin a lot of dimension and texture. So underneath where I've raised those edges up, you are going to see the cardstock. So I do have to come back in with my blending brush a bit later on and colour those white parts in. You can just see them in the middle there. So they will get coloured. But yeah, I absolutely love using machine stitching on my layouts. It's a fantastic way to add some texture and a bit more interest, and it just allows me to have a really nice line down the centre of those parts. I could have used double-sided tape, but it wouldn't have given me such a nice crisp bend in the centre, and you'll see kind of what I mean in a minute when I do raise those edges up. It's just perfect having the machine stitching, keeping them in place in the centre. I'm sticking this cut file down flat to the external part, and I've just used a little bit of tacky wet glue behind that, and that's stuck down perfectly. And now I can, now here's where I decide I need to colour those middle bits in. So like I said, could have done that before, but I've just added a little bit of colour now. And I'm folding these bits in half just to see how this will look. And on this one I do put a little bit of tape in place just to hold it there so that I can run it through my machine. But then when I come to bend the edges up, it's just not giving me that kind of look I was going for. So with the other bits I do just hold them in place and run them through my machine. And I will skip through the video at this point because it's very boring looking at the top of my sewing machine. But I've got orange thread in my machine there, and I'm just stitching one straight line down the centre of each of those pumpkin sections to hold them in place. And there we go, that is my cut file. Just a quick close-up for you of that inked word and also all the lovely texture I've got from folding up the edges of those pumpkins. And you might notice I've changed my photo as well. The one I had at the beginning of the video selected for this layout just wasn't singing to me. The colours weren't bright enough, it was a little bit dull. So I've changed it out, and I printed another two and couldn't decide which one to use. And in the end I decided the landscape version of the photo just worked nicer with the positioning of my cut file and sort of the pumpkin and the word. The horizontal photo just looked a little bit better. So I'm adding a couple of layers of patterned papers behind that, the same two that I've used to cut the pumpkin cut file from, just for continuity, and those are the two colours I'm sticking with for this whole layout. I'm going to try not to veer off these colours, so it works really well having them as layers behind my photo. And I've given them a very light distressing with my edge tool. I haven't distressed the edges of my pumpkin at all, so I didn't want to go too mad with the photo. If I'm going to distress one thing on a layout, I do tend to distress everything. It's very rare that I won't do one thing and then I will do something else, but I just felt the photo needed a little something, particularly because I hadn't cut my patterned paper very straight with my scissors, and distressing the edges disguises that for me. So I've just given a very light distress edge there. Then with the word vibes, I'm adding some craft foam behind that to raise it up, because I'm having some foam behind my photo as well. And where I've turned the edges of the pumpkin up, it's got quite a lot of dimension behind it, so the V isn't going to sit entirely flat on top of that, so the foam just helps with that. And because my photo is raised up on foam, the top part of the word will sit on top of that, but it meant the bottom part was then hanging off the edge, so it needed a second layer of foam along the bottom, just so that I could keep that flush with my background and sort of make contact with everything. And I do like to use foam a lot in my layouts because it gives you a bit of dimension, it helps things pop off the page a bit, especially photos. I always put foam behind my photos. You could have the busiest layout in the world, but as long as your photo is raised up away from everything else, I find that your eye is still drawn to it. So I'm a big lover of having lots of dimension and using craft foam on my layouts. And this stuff's adhesive on one side, so I just peel back the sticky back plastic off of that, and then I just use some double-sided tape on the other side to adhere that to my layout. So I've got my main elements in place now. Those are like my big elements, if you like, and I can move on to embellishing with the smaller elements from the kits. And these are the alphabet stickers we get in the main kit. We get two different types this month, which I really love. We get a larger font and then a smaller navy blue lettering. And I'm using those smaller ones just to spell the word pumpkin. So my title now becomes Pumpkin Vibes, because my photo is obviously of my little boy sat on top of a massive pile of little tiny baby pumpkins. So I thought Pumpkin Vibes worked quite well. And when I cut my cut file out, I'd forgotten to cut the stalk from patterned paper. So I cut one here from a different patterned paper. I was trying to bring in a blue colour to make it just a little bit different from the rest of the pumpkin. But actually in the end I decided I preferred the teal colour that I've actually cut it from. So I end up replacing it with that bit and then stitching through that as well. So this cut file, like many of the others with Hip Kit Club, they are exclusive to subscribers. So if you subscribe to Hip Kit, there are loads of benefits, and I will list them in the description box below for you. But you get discounts off of your main kit, you get free postage on any additional kits, and you also get access to these cut files. So, and they are exclusive, designed by Kim, so you won't find them anywhere else. And like I said, this one I absolutely adore. So they are fantastic cut files. So well worth subscribing, if for no other reason than just to get the cut files, because they are gorgeous. And I'm moving on to embellishing now, and I'm looking for smaller elements. So that pumpkin and my title are quite large, so I just want lots of little small bits to tuck here and there. So I've used one of the mixed media clear stickers that we get, and I love those. I did a layout with them last week, I think, focusing on them to create a background, and they just add a little bit of colour here and there without getting messy, which is fantastic. So I've cut one of those in half and had that on two different areas of my page, and I'm bringing in now lots of pumpkins and leaves. So we get two die cut packs in the October kit, one in the main kit and one in the embellishment kit, and we always get a whole packet full of these. They are packed. I think some of them have like up to 70 pieces in, if not more. I think one of these has 56, I remember seeing on the packet. So loads and loads of little bits that I can use. And again, I'm sticking to the same two colours where I can. So I've picked out lots of orange bits and kind of minty and teal bits. And I've got lots of pumpkins in two different clustered areas. And then I've also got some leaves as well. I've added a little chipboard circle as well there down the bottom. And a couple of the phrase stickers. I think these are from Pocket, I want to say Pocket Life Kit, these bits, I think. Don't quote me, it could be the embellishment kit. And these again are puffy stickers, but we just get so many packs of different things. The kits are just so generous. And after I've made all of my design team layouts, I still have so much kit left. I would say you could easily get 10 plus layouts out of a Hip Kit because they are so generous and you get so much. And I love that the Pocket Life Kit is full of little bits, so I can use lots of things here and there to build up my clusters. And I've also pulled out some die cuts from the main kit there as well. The ones you get in the embellishment kit for October have some gold foiling on, which I think is stunning, so I really love those. But I wanted some that didn't have the foiling as well, so those ones were from the main kit. And I've added in a frame as well behind my photo there. You'll see I've also added a little bit more of that orange ink underneath my title as well, just to extend that to the bottom part of the page. It was looking a little bit bare there without any colour. And now I'm just going to finish the layout off with a sprinkling of sequins from Spiegelmum Scraps. Again, sticking to kind of orange, browns and teals. I absolutely adore these tea colours together and love how this layout turned out. So fantastic kits from Kim and Kimberly this month, entirely exclusive products, so you won't find them anywhere else, which is what I love about Hip Kit Club. They are full of exclusives and really cleverly and well made as well, and everything is of such a good quality. It's just fantastic, and like I said, they're so generous, so lots of layouts to be made with these kits. And there we go, there is my finished layout. So I hope you've enjoyed this process and it's given you some inspiration. Like I said, I will pop a list in the description box below for you of the benefits of subscribing and a link to our website as well, so you can go over and check that out. And if you're not a member of our Facebook group, do head on over and join the Hip Kit Club group. It's a bit of a mouthful, on Facebook for loads of inspiration and chats. It's really lovely to see everybody there having conversations and things, so do head on over and join us. But thanks again for watching. I'll leave you with the last few close-ups and I'll see you next time.